Yes, reggae fans, this is Fully Full Word, and you're tuning in to the top ranking podcast sound, best sound in the world, so don't disappoint me.
All right, you're tuned in to the Top Rankin' Reggae Podcast. It's the show where you get to hear the stories behind the songs. My name is Glenn Holdaway, and I'll be your host. And today we are joined by one of the most prolific horn players in the Cali Reggae scene, none other than the one and only Eric Hirschhorn. Eric is known by most fans as the saxophonist for one of California's most popular reggae bands ever, Rebelution. He has toured all over the country with Rebelution, a band so successful they have even transcended reggae audiences and performed at Coachella and even been nominated for a Grammy. Eric's charismatic and immediately recognizable stage persona is a key element to Rebelution's incredible live shows. Anyone who has seen Eric play will never forget him. Long before joining Rebelution, though, Eric was already an icon in this scene, and over the past 15 years he has worked with just about every major band in this scene, including Tribal Seeds, Fortunate Youth, The Green, Mike Pinto, Hot Rain, Ayaterra, Mattis Yahoo, among many, many others. Even early in his life, it was clear that Eric was going to be a star. When Eric was in high school, he was already performing at major festivals, including the Cali Roots Fest, with his high school band, Sono Vero. And yes, just to clarify, they were all kids in high school playing major festivals and killing it. I highly recommend everyone go and listen to their EP, Babylon Lady. It's not on Spotify anymore, so you'll have to look it up on YouTube, but I guarantee you will be blown away hearing this and knowing that it was recorded by kids who were still in high school at the time. Their musicianship far exceeds their years, and once again, that is Babylon Lady by the band Sono Vero. And speaking of recordings, Eric's skills transcend being just a sax player, as he has a very exciting announcement to make. He has a new single that he wrote and produced himself, coming out on April 30th called Different Vibe, featuring Eric Rachmany, the lead singer of Rebelution, and Italian superstars Mellow Mood. Eric was kind enough to show me a preview of the song off air, and guys, you got to get ready for this one. This is a certified banger. So be sure to check out Different Vibe on April 30th. When Eric is not on the road with Rebelution or busy recording his own music, he's also an educator and teaches high school music at the prestigious California School of the Arts in Duarte. So, with all that being said, I think it's time. Without further ado, I bring to you my interview with Eric Hirschhorn. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Cool. All right, everybody. We're here today with the one and only Eric Hirschhorn.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Traffic wasn't too bad.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all right. I'd say things are good.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, first and foremost, I just saw your most recent Instagram post, and I don't know how much you want to say about that, but it seems like you're cooking up some new music.
Yeah, a lot, actually. It's really interesting to spend a lot of time writing. I'm sure you know too, like you write for other people for such a long time that you kind of lose track and you lose time to do your own things.
Yeah.
And it kind of, interestingly enough, COVID was like a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
It was like a double-edged sword of like, oh, we all kind of lost our jobs for like a year, but it gave us this like mental time to be like, oh, this actually matters to me, right? So it's like, it sucks to almost go bankrupt, but it's definitely really awesome to be like, oh, I really do want to make my own music, and like having the time to not have to work and not have to play, but to actually create for yourself was really rejuvenating, really awesome. So I have some songs in the bank. I'm doing a lot more production work behind the scenes to kind of map out, and there's a song that I'm releasing April 30th.
Nice, man.
And I'll talk more about it on the web. Or I can talk about it now. I'm sure by the time this is released.
Yeah, it'll probably come out in like a week or so.
Yeah, it'll probably be out. I'm sure I could probably say it's the song is called Different Vibe.
Nice.
Features Eric Rachmany from Rebelution.
Oh, yeah, you showed me that.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. And it's got Mellow Mood on it, the twins from Italy, and then Kyle Ahern took a shredding prog solo on it.
And you produced the whole thing
I did the
yourself?
whole thing.
Dang.
I played all the instruments. I helped
Dang,
songwriting too, lyric wise. The only thing I didn't do was guitar and drums.
Wow.
That's usually how most of my tracks are. If I'm like working on a project, I'm sure you would agree too. Like if you have friends that do a thing better than you're ever gonna do it, it's like I'm totally gonna give it to them.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, dude, that's pretty cool to hear that this whole thing was birthed during COVID. I kind of had a similar experience where
Totally.
Delving into production and like home recording, and that whole
Yeah.
thing was like a complete game changer.
It's kind of wild. It's wild how like when you remove the stress of like living and how I hate to go to like the deep end, right? But like capitalism is like a forefront, right? When you put your passion linked with that, there's a really, really difficult way to tread that line between like doing it out of stress and doing it out of love, and how you meet in the middle on that. And once you remove the stress part of it, you just get this like brilliant little flower of creation that you can just like work around and be like, oh, I really do love this. And you don't get stuck in the rigmarole of corporate gigs and playing Don't Stop Believin' 3 nights in a row at a wedding and like, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And like you said, during COVID, it kind of was scary on one end, but also got a lot of time at home, got some unemployment checks coming in.
It was nice, nice to get the checks and be like, okay, I can write this song this week and it doesn't need to make me money. Which is, it sucks to have to like talk about our job like that, but it's our job. And like, it really does operate like that. Much like I'm sure a tax person, it's like, whoa, no one's giving me their tax papers. I'm fucked. I can't do taxes.
Well, dude, how many songs are we looking at on this project? You said this is the first.
So I got a couple songs in the bank. That I mean, all of us, every musician has like 80 songs unfinished on a hard drive somewhere.
Yeah.
I know I have a good amount of tunes that I have collections, and the whole idea behind El Rabbi, the project that I'm releasing, is that much in the same as like Odwin and DJ Jazzy Jeff and all these other types of like producer, or I guess producer artists is what you call them. I guess DJ Khaled's one too, but it's hard. I don't want a one-to-one with DJ Khaled.
I mean, yeah, those are some big shoes to fill, man. You have to get a jet ski, bro.
Major keys. Like, so the idea is that I'm going to do a couple singles. It's like mapped out. I've got the song. There's another one that's in the books too, with again more people in the scene that I really love to work with, and I think you've heard that one too already, probably.
Yeah. There's some crazy features you've got.
Some fun features on it for sure. But my whole idea is like I really want to bring together different people in the scene over music that's a little more innovative that we haven't really had the chance to like return to. You know, I think there really was this like golden era, and again, I think we've talked about this too. Just in like passing and on gigs, it's like there was this golden era of reggae that was happening when we were like in high school, middle school, high school, where it was like bands like Seedless and Fortunate were really getting their like strides on.
Yeah.
And Tribal and Reb weren't. Reb was playing like the racetrack.
Yeah.
And like Steel Pulse would play the racetrack. And small gigs and small shows, and like there was this golden era where all these artists were like really cultivating these sounds were derived from Ukla the Mock. They were derived from Groundation, John Brown's Body.
Rudical Rhythm.
Yeah, Rudical Rhythm. Like Rudical came out a long time ago, and like with Ukla and Rudical Rhythm and how those people kind of forefathered their music and their scene. A lot of the California bands, I think, really got their start from bands like Reb and Iration and all that, because they were like the 10 years older than us.
Yeah.
And even then, the in-betweens, you had bands like Seedless and Fortunate Youth and Nobody Cares and Special C?
Oh, Special C, yeah, from Redondo Beach.
Yeah, and like with West Swell, and then the bands that like I was in, and the bands you were in, and like we all were kind of coming up.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you had B Foundation. B Foundation was like a regularly gigging band. You know?
Yeah.
True Press was around during that time too. These small band names that like were the foundation of this scene that we don't really have as much momentum on that stuff now. If you look at a lot of the festival lineups, it is the same names.
Yeah.
And I think with my project specifically, I'm really trying to like find a way, once I build the ground that can be built upon, release 3 singles, an EP with names that people know already.
Yeah.
After that, start maybe marketing to like bigger names that are crossovers that we can do. I mean, you got YG Marley coming out of nowhere and blowing up with a reggae song out of nowhere. And like, I feel like if you can pull a Jasmine Sullivan, you can pull a Yebba, you could pull a PJ Morton, you can probably pull if you really went for it, you could probably pull a Kendrick feature if you worked that hard and had that idea, right? Like on Different Vibe, when I was pitching the song originally, we had Ty Dolla $ign on like lineup for that song, which would have been awesome. And like we heard from his camp that he was down and it was cool.
How did you get in touch with him? Like,
I can't share.
Okay.
But just because that's inside
sure.
working with.
Have you worked with him before?
I haven't.
Okay.
But we know someone who has that works close with us.
Wow.
So he was like, yeah, it's cool. Like Ty loves reggae. He loves all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
And then it just didn't pan out because when I made the pitch to make the song, the powers that be, the other managers that were kind of listening to the song were like, no, I don't think that'll work and we shouldn't do that. And I was like, okay, well now it's a my project thing and we're doing it straightforward and we're going to roll with what we got. And in a good way, I'm really happy with how it came out. But it's possible. And those crossovers are possible. But I don't think anybody in the reggae world's steeped enough like in roots and in like the new sounds that are happening to be able to do that, right? And I'm not saying I'm like this golden calf gift to the earth, but like I do talk to people a lot about how we pigeonhole ourselves. And this is a long-winded response to your original question. But my project is based around really uniting the grounds we can to make this music as long-lasting as we possibly can with as much that I can do personally.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of the goal behind the whole thing.
Well, it's so interesting you brought up like the crossover of maybe bringing in like an R&B artist or a rapper into like the reggae scene. I feel like someone who did that really well, also from Long Beach, is the Free Nationals. Dude.
Yeah.
Like that Chronics
collaboration
is
huge,
incredible.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. And like there's only been one time that's happened and people were like, cool, let's just not do that again. But like if you listen to like the deep cuts on like there's a Jasmine Sullivan, there's a reggae song.
Yeah.
PJ Morton's got reggae songs.
Even
on his
Alicia
album.
Keys did a reggae song.
Yeah, and like even as I hate to say this because Rihanna's not a shitty artist, but like those early Rihanna records, there was a couple reggae songs that they were banging.
What's that song called? Yeah,
it's the one that does it's like 1 to flat 7. It's like plays I forget what it is, but it's like it's a rhythm. It's like a full rhythm.
Yeah,
and like Tiana Major 9. She's a super killing singer from England that has a reggae song on her track. There's a bunch of British R&B singers that all are Jamaican by birth.
Yeah.
That love reggae but can do both. And I think that that's a whole untapped market. And not even like in a consumer base, but just as like a musician that wants to give our music a little bit of life. I don't want to see the same names on the lineups.
Pushing things forward. I think that's what's so important is that I feel like well, I don't know, not to like talk down on it, but like I feel like the U.S. reggae scene is kind of at a certain point when, like you said, we're seeing like a lot of the same things over and over again. I feel like it's time for something to push through to the next, like what's the next thing coming? And I think that starting to see these things like Free Nationals and Chronics collaborating and, you know, stuff like that is kind of like maybe that's the next wave. And I think it's great that you're with your project wanting to also push the genre forward and see like what's the next thing.
Yeah, I mean, how was Roots created? Like it was innovating on the religious music that was in Ethiopia and that Ross did in Nyabingi circles. And like we can do the same thing with our approach since we aren't Jamaican. We have a different upbringing and a different understanding and interpretation of it to where we can really make something out of what we have. And I think the bands that are in the scene right now are really good, but I'm not seeing the same like influx of new artists popping up in our genre. And like I would love to see that. And if I can continue with this production project for a long time and maybe build a label house and like really guide some newer artists to like hey, like if you want to do this, you got a sound, let's do this and let's make this like an approachable. It doesn't just have to be reggae jaw like smoke weed, right? It's like it can be like, hey, this is our avenue of music and our viability in it, and like we're malleable musicians. And you're like that. You were raised as a jazz musician. We're extremely malleable. You just put on different hats.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man. Dude, yeah, it's forgot what I was going to say, but it was something about like, because it was like you said earlier, like a lot of the bands that you and I grew up in, and for those who don't know, like we went to high school like around 2010-ish. I think you graduated in 2012. I graduated
was 2012,
in 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like a lot of the bands that you and I kind of came up with that fizzled out. And the ones that are still around, like Tribal Seeds Rebelution, you know, Slightly Stupid, like those are the guys who are like running things, you know,
Yeah,
and
totally.
it's like the people who stuck around are the ones who are now dominating the scene. And like you said, during that time, there was a lot more bands.
Yeah,
you know,
there
and
were.
now there's not as many as there was at that time.
Yeah,
at least,
the pickings for festivals is low right now, and I think it's really funny because you'll say this in a video, or like I'll say this in a podcast, or I'll see someone say it in a podcast, and the first thing I see in the comments is like, "You just aren't paying attention to the small people," and that
they don't know what it was like when we were there. It was so vibrant.
Also,
man.
that person who said that probably only thinks about their one little local band that they know about in their city, and they haven't they haven't seen what it was like, or they didn't like when you were booking Bob Fest in San Diego or in Long Beach Bob Fest. Dude, that lineup was just like, there was too many bands. And now it's like, we can't get Jamaican artists over that were coming for fests like that, because sadly there is an issue when it comes to Jamaican business with American business, and how people interact, and getting visas is tough, and the way interchange happens is tough too. But like, you know, you talk to bands like Rebelution, you talk to bands like Slightly, and Slightly brings, you know, Don Carlos out all the time. And now they've got, they have Cut Chemist, and Charlie comes out with them too. Yeah. And like, what's really cool about that is that these top bands like know where their roots are, and they know where the roots of their sounds are. And if you talk to them personally, they're like, yeah, we love these bands. Yeah. Like Rory from Reb loves Ookla the Mock. I love Ookla the Mock. And like, everybody has their influences and stuff, and they know their roots really well. Their music may not be straight up roots, but if you talk to them in a reggae session, they'll pull out a playlist that's like, oh my God, wow, you know these cuts? And people don't get that. We just released our Red Rock show for summer, and Israel Vibrations is on the list.
Yeah, you guys pulled up Michael Rose at Cali Roots, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like...
dude, yeah.
Yeah, you guys. I've seen you guys with Luton Fire. Like,
it's
you
like...
guys keep it proper, man.
But here's the thing is, like, I wish the masses would see that and like do what we did, but you can't put that on everybody, right? We what I say with like we did with like people like you and me, where we heard reggae and then we got like a 10 data disc of like every Alborosie and like all these older bands and everything. You learn about Mad Caddies, you learn about Hepcat, you learn about like all these different bands and everything, and you deep dive. Yeah. But some people just aren't willing to do the deep dive. So when they see Israel Vibrations on a Red Rocks lineup, I saw a comment on an Instagram post. We were like, here's the lineup. I was like, this is sick as hell. At first comments, this one dude that's like, I hate to say this, but it's like, he's like, wow, Rebelution really doesn't read their audience. Like, can't believe we don't have any good reggae bands on this lineup. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, Israel Vibrations, like, we cover Israel Vibrations for a whole summer. We played Vultures. We covered Vultures on tour. And like, we covered it at Cali Roots, and like, ugh, dude, it's like, I think I left a response that was like, ain't no way that you're saying Israel Vibrations isn't a real reggae band. And then of course, you click into the guy's picture, it's like Fit Peace Jesus 395, and it's like some ripped dude with a selfie on a hiking trail with his dog, and it's like freedom. It's like freedom, peace, Jesus, and like a private profile. And it's like
private profile.
I hate to say that's a stereotype, but it's like whenever you look at someone who's aggressive on a reggae page, it's not someone you'd expect to like reggae. And like, why do they like reggae at that point too? And it's like, you want this music to touch everyone, but there gets to a point too where it's like, you might touch people and you might reach, sorry, touch isn't the right word. You might reach people in an audience where it's like it reaches them for interesting reasons, or it resonates for them for interesting reasons. And beyond that, it's like it reaches these people that may not do the work that you're hoping they will do too. And not in a political or anything else sense. It's like, it's in a sense of like, well, here's our music, here's our forefathers, here's why we're doing it. And they're just like, hell yeah, dude, sick music. And then they get in their car and drink a beer and go home. It's like, okay, glad it got to you. And like, I'm really happy that we like can give you that kind of relationship to the music. But at the same time, it's like, there is love and compassion here. And if you go a little deeper, you might find it.
Yeah, man. And yeah, to tie it back to your new EP, or is it an EP or an album?
Sorry, dry throat. It's a single.
Or yeah, but like eventually.
Eventually it'll be, I think my mapping, it's so funny to talk just like strategy. It's like, single. I think the way it's actually mapping out is like single, co-produce, single, and then EP, and I'll do a 5-song EP, 4-song, 5-song EP. So I want to kind of stagger it through the year, and then eventually next year do album. I will say it's difficult to do an album these days if you don't have label funding.
Yeah, man, it's super expensive.
And like, what am I going to do, a 17-song album and then have no one pay attention to it? Like, I would rather get the singles and get the foundation, solid.
Definitely.
And then when I have some kind of following, I can do like an 8 or a 9 or like something.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great that kind of the motivation behind this project seems to be encouraging people to dig deeper and maybe like expand their vision to even like genres outside of reggae.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. Like, why do you think Chronix took a break from reggae?
Yeah, man. Dude, what's the new project he's doing now? It's like Luis was just telling me about it.
Yeah.
It's like with a group from the UK.
Yeah. Oh, it's talk, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
I
something
think so.
like that.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy,
it's
dude.
British. It's like British breakbeat stuff. They're all DJs, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's talk. I think it's something like that, though.
Yeah, it's
Cade, the trumpet player, showed it to me recently.
Yeah.
It was funny. Well, I guess it's not funny. It's really gnarly, actually. He was hanging out with one of the dudes in the Beastie Boys because he was teaching his kid guitar or something. I forget.
That's crazy.
Kate, if you watch this, remind what the story is in whatever avenue you respond to this video or this podcast or however you consume podcasts on the interwebs. He was like, so what kind of music are you into right now? And he was like, oh, I'm into these things. Like, what are you into? I forget which dude from the Beastie Boys. He was like, I'm into this. And he just played it.
What?
And like, it was like currently what was out. It was already released.
Dude, that's a trip. I was just listening to the Beastie Boys book, actually. Mm-hmm. And dude, they were like huge Lee Perry fans. I never knew that, but they were like, he was one of their biggest inspirations.
Yeah. I mean, you listen to half these artists, man. And it's like, you can tell KRS-One came from like New York in the depths when everything was like that, And it's like, there's so many Jamaican artists who are the forefathers of what we do, and I just wish people would dig the extra mile and know that.
Yeah, man. That's a trip though that the dude from the Beastie Boys
was like, hey, here's this sick
Chronix project.
Here's this sick ass. Well, we didn't know Chronix was on it. He was playing it, and he was like, yeah, it's like a super group of like musicians and DJs, and it's kind of like funky and disco.
Wow.
But then it's like there's like the last album that I listened to, there's like there's Brazilian. Like Brazilian samba breaks in the samples and stuff. And it's like two chicks who sing and then Chronix is in there, but I haven't heard one of the Chronix songs yet because the songs are pretty like long.
Yeah.
And I think they're all super group singers. So it's like, yeah, I've been meaning to dig into that album and hear where Chronix sings.
Maybe it's like
songs.
Chalk or something.
It's like Chalk or Talk, right?
Yeah, I got to look that up again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man, it's wild. I remember hearing it and be like, whoa, holy shit, this is sick.
But I feel like your project is kind of like, I'm really interested to hear what it sounds like, man.
Yeah.
And I hope that it does what you intend and like
Thank
pushes
you,
the genre forward and maybe inspires people to start collaborating with all these different influences.
And what's cool too is like, I really have this even mind about it. If it's like, and if it doesn't do that, hey, this is music I like and I made it and I'm cool with that. Man. Like I'm gonna keep doing it. And even if it doesn't go anywhere like that, it's like I'm also really happy to see how it will morph and grow itself too.
Yeah.
Right? Because like at the end of the day, I'm sure if you make a song, it's still an extension of yourself.
Yeah.
It's still an extension of your creativity. So it's always going to be growing, always. So if it comes out as like a 6/8 power ballad after, it's like, okay, cool, sweet. That's what the form it's taking now.
Yeah,
you know? But not to be like it'll change. But I do think that there shouldn't be that box that we might get ourselves stuck in as reggae musicians, because I know we do that. And I know that like there's so many, the Roots Police, and there's like, which I think I've probably been the Roots Police a couple times, but like there's like the Roots Police, and then there's like, the people who only like bands like Stick Figure and Reb, and they're not willing to even reach out to Jamaican artists. And it's like, we put Kez Namdi and Kabaka on our tour, and they're like, on one side, you have people who are like, oh, I don't like this. It's too cultural.
Oh, wow.
It's weird. I hate it. I hate it. And like Rachmany, our lead singer, is like, this is insanity. Like these are our favorite bands.
Yeah.
And then too, like the other side is like Jamaicans are like, why aren't they headlining? It's like, well, America literally like sadly is having a really hard time like making that the forefront, right? Like American reggae is their reggae consumption. And when it comes to Jamaican reggae, I really wish they'd dig farther and go into that. Jamaicans are like, why aren't you giving us the lead spot? It's like, well, you're going to go bankrupt if you try and play these venues.
I see.
And we're doing what we can to give an equal footing and let you build so you can come here. But if you come here on your own, you literally can't afford it because it's really that tough to like book venues, sell tickets with no kind of promo. And like, it's hard. It's really hard. And I really feel for Jamaican artists that are trying to come over here and like, it's tough. And I think it's sad that it's tough in a genre that they should work like for themselves and own because they do own it. But, you know, I wish it was easier. I wish there was an easier way. And I wish Americans were more open to world and more cultural music.
Yeah, that's a trip to hear people saying like, oh, this is too cultural. Like, what the hell
Dude,
does
yeah,
that
people
mean
were in the audience like they would leave for Kabaka set, and I'm like, you guys are missing the greatest, one of the greatest reggae backing bands you've ever seen.
Dude, speaking of Reb and openers, bro, I saw Gondwana open for Rebelution.
Like long
yeah,
ago,
bro,
right?
that was like over 10 years ago. I think I was in high school, and that was like,
I would have lost my
bro. It was incredible,
brain,
dude. And I it made me really respect Rebelution for having, you know, a band like that come over. That's I'm sure, like you said, probably like challenging to some of their audience, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But I was super stoked on that.
Yeah, man. Like I really wish we can keep doing that. Like I know that like we just did a tour with like Iration Expendables and I should remember the opener. This is what happens when you like spend a year teaching and then you forget what you did in the morning and you ate breakfast. Dude, I'm gonna eat it. It's Pacifier.
Oh, nice.
It was a good tour. It was Pacifier, Expendables, Iration, and us, which of course performed great in the States.
Yeah.
But I think musically, like Kabaka and like Keznamdi was like, this is what we listen to in our free time.
Yeah, man.
You know, and like Kez and Kabaka would come on stage and be like, Rebelution's the only band that's like really supporting Jamaican artists. And it's like, dude, we kind of are. Like bands like Earthcry are coming out and like making it happen, and Rock will go on stage with them and play with them, and like it's something. And I think that we have the capability to support Jamaican artists, and I really think people should be considering that more often.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And well, everybody, April 30th.
April
30th.
That was the longest-winded answer to that one question, dude. I'm so sorry.
No, man, that's what we're here for, dude. We're here to dig deep, find the answers to life's questions, living in the question.
Sick.
Shout out to Eric's last project.
The last thing I released in 2017 under my name.
Hey, man, is this 7 years later? Wait, hold on. Let me do that math. 2017.
Quick maths.
7 plus 7 is 14.
Yeah, no, you're right.
7 years, man. Lucky
it's been
7.
7 years since I released that.
Yeah, man. That's a lucky number. It's
going
to be your year.
It's going to be the year. Life goes in sevens.
Yeah, man. Put 7 songs on the EP.
7 songs. 7 white doves fly across the sky to give me a sign.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. Anyways, April 30th. Everybody check that out. We're looking forward to it. Different vibe. Yeah. So with all that being said, we kind of touched a little bit about like, you know, we went to high school together. Yeah, but like our background and everything.
Oh, okay,
we both grew up basically in Long Beach.
Yeah.
I met you when I was in middle school.
Yeah.
You were in 8th grade going into 9th grade.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we met through the Jazz Angels.
Which is Barry Kogert.
Yeah, man. I think he was your first
Barry
music
taught
teacher.
me piano because my dad couldn't afford music lessons. And he traded swimming lessons for Barry's kids for piano lessons for me. And Barry was like, I don't play piano. My dad was like, you'll figure it out. And he did. And it was awesome. Barry was awesome.
Was that your first instrument, piano?
Yeah, piano was my first instrument.
How old were you?
I was 4.
4?
I was 4 when I started playing.
Dang, man. You were taught by Barry. He's like, well, as long as I can be better than
I think I was Barry's like first student.
Really?
Piano student or something like that. Yeah, because he went on to teach more people like piano and stuff.
Yeah,
but like, I think I forget what the wording is on it, but I'm pretty sure it's like I was his first piano student.
Wow.
Or something, and then he taught me really well, and then I played piano kind of throughout that time, all the way until like elementary school, there was like an after school music program that went to all the La Salle schools.
I was in that.
I was in it too. I played bass.
Dude, I played bass. What? I didn't know you played bass.
I played bass at Weaver. Yeah. It was like 4th or 5th grade. And it was so dumb.
Dude, I had a terrible experience in that too.
No. The program wasn't dumb. Because we were reading out like essentially
essential
element books, and it was like I was learning. But the dumbest part, and I don't think I thought it was dumb at the time. I thought it was really cool because I thought my dad was really cool. But when you're like,
isn't your dad a bass player?
He's a bass player.
Okay,
he's like
cool.
a garage bass player. In a cover dad band in Long Beach. They broke up like during COVID.
Oh, they broke up?
It was 30 years though. Then
man.
People got a little squirrely during COVID, so people get.
It was the Elm Street Band.
Elm Street Band, yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. But yeah, my dad had he had this Carvin. Was it a Carvin head or was it a GK head? It was.
It's a pretty fat
No. It was like a half cab. I was rolling in a half cab.
Your elementary school concert
on a roller,
like taller.
Because my dad was like, "If you're going to be a musician, you got to learn how to load." And he would he would have me load the half cab. I think it was a full cab. It was like, you know how tall those Ampeg things are?
Dude,
it was like a little shorter than one of those big ass Ampeg full cabs, and then a head, and I'd have to like roll it on a roller into the room.
Oh my God.
And then like load it up and set it
up
at Weaver. So it was like I was loading in a big ass cab amp. Completely unnecessary. Like my dad wasn't willing to just buy me a tiny little bass amp.
That's kind of badass though, dude.
It was sick, but I look back now and I was like, God damn it. Like that would have been tight if I had a Mark cab with like a head that was light, I didn't have to like roll this big fucking thing.
Yeah.
But super grateful for that, to be able to even have gear to like play, But I played bass after that, probably just like you did.
Why didn't you stick with the bass?
I kind of did. Well, why didn't I stick with the bass? Because I got to middle school after elementary school, and I got to the first day of band, and I was like, they were like going around. It was Miss Royce was the teacher before Mr. Padilla at Oak, and Miss Royce was going around the room being like, "Okay, we're gonna go around the room, say your name and what instrument you like to play." And I was like, "My name is Eric. I'm here to play electric bass." And it was band. And she's like, "Can you pick a band instrument?" And I was like, saxophone. And then they stuck a fucking sax in my hand.
That's how it happened?
That's how it happened. And then she got fired a month later, and then Mr. Padilla got into the school.
Whoa. Dude, that's a trip. So it's just an accident, basically.
It really was that I didn't show up for orchestra because my dad and me didn't know how it worked.
Oh, what?
Like if I had shown up for orchestra, I would have probably kept playing bass.
Playing like upright bass.
I would have learned upright bass.
Wow.
And like now I've learned upright bass kind of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like more or less. Because I play bass on my tracks.
Yeah. I've seen you play electric bass before.
Yeah.
I didn't know you did upright.
Well, I kind of had to, like with teaching this job, I teach at California School of the Arts, San Gabriel Valley, which is like OSHA's other campus.
Yeah.
And one of
it's a high school or a middle school?
It's an arts charter high school, yeah.
Okay, nice.
There's a middle school, but the middle school is Duarte. It's like Duarte High, Middle.
Cool.
Or I think it's Duarte High. Yeah, we're right next to Duarte High. We don't share a campus. We have our own campus. But some of the classes are over there. Some of the classes are over at ours. But one of my classes is like a jazz combo, and there's no bass player in the combo. So I like pick up the stand-up and it's jazz, and then I just kind of go for it.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I play enough like acoustic electric to where I understand fret position and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if I had shown up to orchestra, I probably would have been a bass player right now, fully. But
so you got taught by a guy who never played piano, and then you played sax just because
I couldn't play bass in the band. And then it's history, dog. That's it.
Were you always like really interested in music? Like did you think you were going to be this was going to be your life, or was it just kind of something you did?
Early in my younger days, I was like I sucked ass at sports. I was so fucking bad at sports, dude. Yeah. I was such a little gamer nerd. Like I loved playing my Pokemon on my Game Boy, and like I loved Pokemon trading cards and
Pokemon Red or Blue, dude.
I played Yellow.
Oh, dang.
I was just
a good
young
one.
enough, and I
Pikachu.
was always. Here's the thing: I was always 1 year behind everyone else, like on hip shit. When I was a kid, when everybody got red and blue, I got like yellow because I was just behind on the fad, and like. Yeah, dude. Like that was my whole. I loved when I was in elementary school. I was a mega nerd. I loved like making up and acting out stories on the playground and then getting beat up by popular kids.
Yeah.
I can freely admit that because it sucked, and I know those popular kids, and they're doing heroin right now.
Yeah, bro,
And
it's a trip.
You have a ball house.
Yeah.
And like we're better off now.
Yeah.
Than that. I've seen too many of those popular kids straight up actually like die.
Dude, it's
from Fent and from everything. Sorry to take it dark, but like it's real. Like I was a complete and total nerd who just wanted to do good in class and play my video games and write creative stories, and for me music was like the only thing I was really good at.
Yeah.
And I could do it pretty well, and I felt good doing it, and it gave me, if you really want to break it down to like a psychology core, right? It's like I kind of think there's a big human condition where people kind of just want to look good.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
There's an innate thing in humanity that like, why do you think cavemen when like wanted to make fire or when you wanted to have a mate, like if there was someone like a prospective partner that you were trying to mate with as a Neanderthal, like you wanted to look good and look impressive and look strong for that person. So it's like, I think there is this innate thing in humanity. It can be a little toxic. It can be a little tough to deal with, but there's this innate, like, I want to be liked. I want to be good at this thing. I want to look impressive. I want to feel validated for what I am.
Yeah.
And
especially when you're a kid, you know.
Oh God, yeah. You're like still learning the boundaries of what it is to function in society. So I think that like as a young kid, I was like, oh, this is special and I do it good and people commend me for it. So I'm going to stick with it. I definitely wanted to be a professional golfer when I was a kid, which is whack.
Really?
Yeah. No, I wasn't that bad at golf, but like my dad golfed. It was something definitely my dad did that like he made me do.
Nice.
And I got pretty good at it, but no, it's not my cup of tea. I could still do it now, but it's not my cup of tea. But regardless, yeah, music was something that I could always rely on to be something that I could love and feel good doing.
Yeah.
So I stuck with it for those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, when I first met you, you were already like pretty killer, or at least like, I mean, I was like super intimidated by you because you had a giant beard in 8th grade. Like, dude, like people don't know this, bro, but like.
It's true.
Like most kids when they try and grow a beard.
I started shaving in 5th grade.
Yeah, dude. It was like a full man beard. Like it wasn't like a scraggly like teenager beard. Like you look like a 30-year-old man in like 8th grade, dude. Like
not a lie. It's not a lie at all.
Yeah, and you were like a beast on the sax, and I was like, oh my god.
It's really funny, dude, because like you talk about that time when like you met me and like I was in 8th grade at Oak.
Yeah.
And like I distinctly remember like there was this big shift that happened in my life around like 8th, 9th grade where I like got a girlfriend for the first time, and it was like a real girlfriend, and like I made this weird vow, me and my buddies, Jameson Bryant, and I mean, rest in peace, Darren Westby. Darren was a part of that group. We like all kind of like, me and Jamie mainly, kind of made this like pact that we were going to be cool. And we were going to like get cool. And 8th grade was this like turn in my life where like I was like, I'm going to be cool. I'm not going to be weird anymore. And like somehow, some way, I started hanging out with people that were like quote unquote cool.
Yeah.
And like badass. And my cousin Justin, who was always a really cool kid that was hanging out with like high schoolers in middle school. Yeah. Like he was a badass, and I just wanted.
I'm sure having a beard helped, dude.
I mean,
like,
yeah, but like everyone, that was the thing. Everyone already knew I was kind of like a nerd, so I was like breaking the stigma, and I was trying to change who I was.
Oh, kind of like a fresh start in high school, almost.
But it was still all the old same kids that were there that followed to the next spot and followed to the next area, and like how it happened was like I changed the way I look, I changed my clothes, I started skating, I like started doing fucking tomfoolery and riding through Rossmore and like breaking people's windows.
Yeah.
Being a terrible human being. I could freely admit that because I know I was being terrible, and like I got cocky, and like I didn't make jazz band in high school when I auditioned the first time because I beefed the audition. Yeah. And then Mr. Rush was like, if he does the camp, I'll let him in the program. And I did the camp, and he got me in the program.
Wow.
And thank God for that. But yeah, like I had to like do that and become a terrible person. And then I did the Berkeley 5 week.
Yeah.
And I went to Boston and I played with some really, really big people out there. And I met some like musicians out there that were like, oh my God.
This was like your junior year, I think?
This was sophomore year going.
Oh, wow.
No, this was going into sophomore year.
Wow.
Yeah. No. Sophomore. Nah. What was the. Yeah. No, yeah. It was fuck. It was one of those. No, wait. No, yeah. Wait. When are you 15?
It's like sophomore into junior.
I guess
because you
sophomore
start
to
driving
junior.
at 16, which is like the end of your sophomore year, right?
I guess.
Whatever, dude. It's like
Fuck,
around
what year
there.
was that? I want to say it was sophomore going into junior, but I'm trying to remember what I did all those summers. I think. Oh, fuck it, man. Either way, I went to the Berkeley 5 week, and long story short, I met a bunch of musicians, and I met a bunch of like older people who were like big guiding people for me.
Yeah.
And it was like, I got into a bar fight with like 50-year-old dads, and I was like, oh my God, the world's a fucking terrifying place.
You fought a 50-year-old man?
No, we were like this is actually kind of a funny story. We were in a bar in Boston, which was famous for cedar plank salmon, that you'd take the blue line to get to the red line at Berkeley. Oh man, it was like the something crab or the
Krusty Krab,
the gooning cave or something. It was something ridiculous like that. But I'm just kidding. It was like the boiled crab or like the cooking crab or something like that, or the nasty crab, or I forget. But it was this place in Boston that was really famous for that, and we had teachers at Berkeley who were playing gigs there.
Oh wow!
So this guitar player friend of mine, Josh Snyder, my other buddy, Tom. Oh God, what was Tom's last name? And then there was this other guy who was this redhead, and I'm totally forgetting his name right now. But he was like older, and he was from New York, and he was angry all the time. And he just kind of had this anger to him. We were able to sneak in the bar and get in and watch our buddy Josh's teacher play guitar.
Yeah.
And it was a jazz set, and it was killer. But we were standing in a corner, and we were kind of seeing, like, I felt something kind of fly by my head. And then all of a sudden, like, a fork hit my head, like a metal fork. And, like, we turn over, and it's these 50-year-old dudes who are, like, already tanked, like, throwing shit at my afro.
Oh yeah, because you had a giant afro
trying to,
back
like,
then.
hit me in the fro. And then the one dude he was 19, and he was like, those guys throwing shit at your head? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right. And he walks over and just loads
Bam.
up and just cranks a 50-year-old dad. And they were like waiting to fight. That was their whole thing. They're like masshole Boston.
Oh man,
Just sports nut, bald head,
Yeah,
hat
yeah.
wearing motherfuckers. And they like come down on us, and then all of a sudden it's a brawl. And like I had to be in a bar fight for like all of like 10 seconds of like a dude swinging and missing me and hitting his fist into the wall. And then the security's like, all right, get the fuck out. You guys are underage. And then we got kicked out. It's just wild, dude. Like,
that's
yeah, so
crazy,
I went to Berkeley, and like there was a lot of other musicians who were just way, way better than
Yeah.
I'll ever be.
And 5 weeks is pretty like.
Yeah, I
It's like
toured.
all
I played
summer
with like
almost.
Wyclef Jean, and I played
Oh,
with a bunch of other really cool artists there that like really changed my life.
Wow.
And like in that time period, Arena Terabuko is this Japanese sax player that was there that plays just like Charlie Parker.
Wow.
She's like literally as good as Parker. And God, there's so many players who were just so good. Tomer Ron was this trumpet player who was a motherfucker from Israel. And like Itai Morchi and Etienne, and like I could go off. And there's all these people that I specifically remember who were like, I'm literally never going to be as good as you. I suck ass. I need to fix this.
Yeah.
So like I did that. Funny enough, I was in like a reggae ensemble there as a class.
Oh, nice.
And like I was like, oh, this is sick. And I think there's still a video somewhere, but like I did the rap to like one of the Sublime songs we did.
Wow.
And it was just bad. It was dancehall, and it was my introduction to like playing reggae.
Yeah. That was your first experience with reggae?
Totally, 1,000%.
Wow.
Yeah.
Had you heard reggae before that or not really? Like,
no, not at all. It was like a
Wow.
world music ensemble.
I think they still have it, like the
They
Bob
do.
Marley
It's sick.
ensemble.
It's the Bob Marley ensemble. But
Wow.
this was like the 5 week is different than the normal college system. But we had like a world ensemble group that was like a reggae group, and I played sax in it, and then I toasted over some stuff, which I later would be fine that it was called burning or toasting.
Nice.
But yeah, so like I came back and it humbled my shit, and like I cooled off a lot.
Wow.
You know, and like I committed myself to being a better person and a better like leader in a section and a better section player and committing, and then yeah, dude, rest is as it is.
Wow. So say that's like maybe your sophomore year, because when I came to high school, I was a freshman. You'd be a junior, and you were already playing in Premium Culture.
Yeah, Premium Culture started junior
Yeah.
year. Aaron Argata gave me. He was like, "Hey, you play saxophone in the jazz bands." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, I played in this reggae group too during summer and stuff. I guess it was the sophomore year going into junior year.
Wow.
Because like he came to my biology class and he was like, "Hey, dude, I'm trying to get a reggae band together. Like, do you listen to reggae? Could you get guys together?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. Hit me up." Comes back the next day with again 20 data discs stacked this high of Maxwell burn disc.
Yeah.
He had to do every single one of those, and he gave it to me, and I put them in my locker, and then I was like, "What the fuck? I'm not gonna listen to all these." And then slowly, like, I finally got like my dad's, like I got my learner's permit so I could drive my dad's car. I loaded up. He had a 10-track thing
Dang.
in the Astro. It was a GM Astro van. And that thing was pimped out, dude. It had his work logo on it with the waves and a swimmer because he was a swimming teacher. But in the old Astro, you would hit this button in this like 10-track, or it was an 8-track or a 10-track, I forget. But you could load up CDs in that thing, and you would load up 10 CDs in that thing, and then you would slap it in, and it still had a tape deck too if you wanted to run tape. But you would put that in, and it would go through each of the discs, and you could just listen to
That's perfect.
10 different discs. So I'd put in all of Aaron's discs, and I'd go one by one.
Wow.
And I'd listen to them while I drive. I'd listen to them on, I think I had some kind of fucking Walkman thing or some shit.
Yeah.
Or I think I downloaded them onto I downloaded them onto my iPod.
Yeah.
I had an iPod Nano.
Oh yeah.
And all that shit was on my iPod Nano. Wild.
Yeah, man. What CDs or songs or artists from that time like influenced you the most when you were first kind of like developing your taste for reggae?
I think my tastes have changed from early days to what they are now, I'd probably say. But I think for sure for me, like when I first heard stuff, and it's really funny that I can say this because like it does come full circle a lot. I remember hearing Rebelution and being like, I don't like this. I first heard it. I hate to say it. I was like, oh, this isn't as cool as like the Beres Hammond stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, Beres Hammond was probably like my favorite.
Oh yeah.
It was also my first reggae show I saw.
Really?
I went to, God, what venue is that? It was me and Aaron's dad. And he took us to go see, it was like Culture.
Dude.
With Kenyatta.
Yeah.
It was Kenyatta Hill with Culture. Who does Sweat?
Oh, Inner Circle?
It was Inner Circle.
Wow.
It was Culture, and it was Beres Hammond, and then there was another opener. But it was
Dude,
like
what a lineup, bro.
It was
like
a festival day, dude. It was like a festival day. I think it was UCLA Reggae Fest, maybe.
Oh yeah.
It was either UCLA Reggae
Jazz Reggae Fest.
Well, no, 'cause it was like an arena.
Oh.
It was like an arena in LA, kind of by USC, maybe, I think.
Is it the Shrine?
No, it wasn't the Shrine.
Okay.
I saw Childish Gambino at the Shrine. It's for sure not the Shrine.
Okay.
The Shrine's like a venue.
Yeah.
But I forget the venue, but it was like, I remember seeing Beres Hammond play, and I remember hearing Culture play, and I heard International Herb for the first time. Like, that was like my shit.
Yeah.
Culture, Beres, like all of the beginning stuff that was really getting me stoked on it. I remember Alborosie being like one of my favorite first things ever here.
Yeah.
And then funny enough, I would say, and I think this goes for a lot of people that were like from our area, Tribal Seeds really was like
everyone
shit.
had Tribal Seeds.
Everybody
shirts on and
wanted
jackets.
Tribal Seeds. And like, I'll be straight up, dude. Like, there's still times today. I think out of all the bands like that are in the scene, I still like listen to old Tribal stuff, and I'm like, man, this shit's good.
Yeah.
This shit's really, really good.
Yeah.
Like Irby and 144,000.
Yes, bro. Dude, that's so underrated,
dude, I
bro.
begged the band for years when I was playing with them. I was like, dude, we need to fucking play this song. If we don't play this song, there's literally no reason for the horns to play with this band. And dude, the first time horns played with Tribal in San Diego at Wave House We played. It was like a horn. It was like the horn section of the set. We went on, and it was like we did Door Peep Shall Not Enter, Burning Spear, Spear Burning.
Wow.
We did one of the Oswald tunes before we started doing the one we did at every
like
show.
Warrior Charge or something.
It was like no, but we did that at later shows.
Yeah, I've heard
the
them
original lineup was Spear Burning. I think we did Drum and Bass Line. Yeah.
Oh,
we
sick.
did
That's
Drum and
a
Bass
great
Line
one.
was the OG one.
Nice.
And then we kept doing that one later.
Yeah.
We did that one, and then we did
African Children, right?
That's African Children
Yep.
later, and then we did Drum and Bass Line because they did Jan 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 Buena. How does the horn line on that one start? Drum and bass line is rubber style. 1, 2, yeah. We did that. Door Peep Shall Not Enter. Spear Burning. There was another one. Oh, Jaws My Driver.
Oh,
It
nice.
was like a whole like banger
Just
cover
covered,
set,
yeah,
dude.
dude.
And like Steve sang them all.
Wow.
And it was like we did Door Peep Shall Not Enter, and it was like ba 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 with like all the super slow time, bro. It was the heaviest shit like ever. It was insane. And we went into Love Song after that.
That was your first time playing with them?
Yeah, we did that. Well, my first time playing with them was sneaking on stage during Vampire and playing a sax solo when we opened up for them at Observatory with Sono
Really?
Vero. Yeah, because it was a free for all back
Yeah,
in the day.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was no organization when Vampire first would start
It's still
happening.
kind of like that, honestly.
Yeah, it's a little better
Yeah.
now. It's a lot better now, actually, because back then, dude, like, Vampire was like a shit show. I remember there's a video. You could probably, we're on a podcast, I feel like Theo Von, like, hey, Riley, pull up that video of the donkey eating like that part. But there's an old video of Vampire in 2012. And I think we played, it was like the video from the side stage. It was Zimbabwe, and Gonzo had come up because Gonzo was still with Fortunate Youth at the time.
Yeah.
It was Gonzo, Steve, and Silos was still on drums. Joe Chi was still on keys, and Tony Dredd was still on guitar. Shams was on bass at that time. White Boy had just left. But it's the video from side stage. They're doing Zimbabwe.
Wow.
Bob Marley. And then after Zimbabwe, it goes to that. Dude, side stage was like 80 people deep on the old Observatory stage.
Yeah.
And people were like sprawled out
The
on
galaxy.
the side, on stage, like on the fucking stage. It's somewhere out there, but like it's like back in that was my first time playing with them. I snuck on for like a later one. It wasn't on that show, but Sono Vero like opened up for them, and then I ran on and played a sax solo, and it was like cool, I guess.
And then they just kind of started.
I mean, we
using
played
after
more
that?
shows together. We like when Sono Vero was kind of playing more in my senior year and into high school.
And for those who don't know, Sono Vero was the band that Eric toured in. You guys recorded is that your first time in a studio with them too?
I recorded for some other people at like Berkeley and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd been familiar with the process, but when it came to like, it was like my own.
I guess Premium Culture recorded too.
Culture recorded too.
I
But
still have your guys'
It's
CD,
on
dude.
SoundCloud, dude.
Yeah.
You can still find it up, and you can hear me sing a verse.
Yeah.
It's
Just
bad.
Said,
yep.
to
It's
always love
bad.
one.
It's really bad. Really bad. But hey, you got to start somewhere, dude. You got to fall hard so you can get up
You guys
and
were
not
dope,
fall
man.
again. I fucking still
Bro,
love
the
those
Sono
songs,
Vero
dude.
stuff holds up, bro. Like I
it
still
really
listen
does.
to Babylon Lady. Like I
It's a
can't
hit.
believe you guys were in high school, dude. And like the horn line you guys wrote, like for me,
Yeah.
like I still am inspired by that, man.
I still
Like,
think that some of that stuff is the greatest stuff. I mean, I think I've ever written. And funny enough,
Absolutely,
like
man.
I try and just like access that space. I think it's because we had so much free. It was my band along with like
Yeah.
Ollie's band and all the other guys. It was Dylan's band. It was Aaron's band. It was Charlie. It was Nathan's band. It was Anthony's band.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Anthony. Like we all collaboratively were like, this is our group, and we're gonna write the way we want to write.
Yeah.
And ever since then, when I track for other people, I don't often have the same utensils, right? Like I'm not in control of what the drums are doing
Yeah.
in relation to the hits that the horns are doing.
Yeah.
And you're writing two things with a different intention. And like, that's why I wanted to write my own stuff. Cause like I could arrange that stuff again like that. And like Salvation Stays horn line is still, I think,
Yeah.
the greatest
Shit is
things
hard,
I've ever.
bro.
It's insane, and it's super. It's
Yeah.
involved too.
But-
It's hard as fuck. It's a hard line. There's also shit on Fortunate Youth Records that like
Bro,
we were given.
some might say,
That's the one I'm thinking
Bro.
of. Like me and the trumpet player Nick Bianchini,
Yeah.
who played on the Sono Vero stuff, we had just gotten back from a failed trip in Hawaii where we were supposed to stay out there with someone, and then we like crashed. We like didn't have a place to stay for 2 nights, and then we stayed at a hostel, and we like helped work at a hostel to pay our stay at the hostel, and
I remember you telling me
we
about
went through
that trip,
hell, dude, and we came back, and then we had to track immediately, and we had just got off the plane, and we did that shit off the cuff.
Bro.
And it was
yeah.
like a whole new battery was unlocked, and the guys were like, "We don't know what the fuck just happened."
Yeah.
In the studio, and they were like, "That was insane."
You guys were like, 19? You were like probably 19 or 18.
I was like 19 or 18 at the time.
Bro, yeah.
I think I was like 19 at the time.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah. Dude.
Yeah, man. Like, it's wild how shit turns out like that. And I think the only other time, personally, that I've ever had like a very similar, I've ever had like a similar freedom has been on the recent Innovision album,
Yeah, dude.
2020.
Bro, yeah, I texted you. That came up on like my Spotify Discover
Yeah.
Weekly. As soon as I heard it, I was like, "This has got to be Eric."
Dude, it
and I
was so-
texted you. I was like,
Yeah,
"Is this you?"
it was so wild because like Koa hit us up and he was like, "Hey, I got these tunes," and I was like, he was just like, "Go do you?"
Yeah,
And it was such a classic way that I wrote because I stayed up till 5 a.m. on my couch with headphones and my old MacBook on Sibelius, and I wrote through Sibelius just the melody lines, and then I fleshed it out after, and I like hit all the hits and all the harmonies that I wanted, and I just sat there with the raw just in headphones and was just like, all right, let's just go, let's just write. And it was like I did everything I could, and he said, we're not going to cut anything, write what you would, and nothing got cut. Every
Yeah.
single hit made it on the record.
Wow.
Every single line made it on the record. And I made a bunch of fucked up jazz lines
Yeah.
that are super sick, and I love them, and I'm so proud of them. And it's like, that's the kind of shit I wish we could do more often. Like, Jay Keys lets me do that on his
Oh,
songs.
dude, that's such a great project you guys did, man.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
I don't think there are a few better musicians than
Yeah.
Jarrell in the reggae scene that can do everything like that. But yeah, I think it's a lost art, is like this, like just freedom of just being, right? I think Article Sound System's doing a really, really good job
Wow.
of being unique with their sound. You know, they're tapping into the rock side, and then like Logan's really, 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 really talented with like creating concepts, and Cope's a super killer keyboard player, and the whole band's nasty. And I think they have a really, really cool approach. Like, I love that song, I Want to Get High. That feels like it's got a slight Dilla beat, and it's like fresh. That's the shit I want.
Wow.
I want shit that's a little different, that's like still rooted, that understands where it comes from, that still kicks ass now.
Yeah,
And
man. I
they're a
gotta
really
check
good
that out.
example of bands that are doing that.
Nice.
I think that's just me.
Dude, one thing you said earlier too, like how this new project, you're kind of like bringing a lot of influences and trying to push things forward. I feel like you've always kind of been that guy, and like even starting out with Sono Vero and like the stuff you guys were recording, like you were playing in a way that like no one sounded like that, man.
Yeah,
And-
nobody did.
Yeah, dude.
I remember people like older people telling us that too. I mean, we toured and we played, and like it was a really unique sound.
Yeah.
And like Anthony was
You guys did Cali Roots when it was like still a tiny
yeah,
festival.
Yeah,
man.
we did, and honestly, we did pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I think if we would have stuck together, we definitely could have did some good. But I do think we got together a little too young, because college really does, like, you know.
Everyone's separated. you know?
Yeah, and like I think if we had all had our interests lined up at the same time, we would have been good. And you know, I still played with Anthony for like a long time after the
man.
band split.
Because he went on to like Ian Young stuff
He
too.
was
right?
on Ian stuff. He did Pinto for a long time too.
That's right.
Sadly, he was a pretty bad alcoholic, so he the whole time, and I really hurt for him, because it took him way too young, and
Yeah.
it took him a long time to figure out how to be sober. And once he did get sober, you know, it's just unfortunate that he had a tumor in his head. And it's rough. It's real
Yeah,
rough.
man.
But like I really do attribute a lot of that band's sound to Anthony.
Dude.
And if you ask Leslie Ludiazzo,
Bro.
the drummer,
Yep.
he would say the same thing. Anthony was better than him. He straight up admitted that a couple times.
Wow.
He was like, dude, stop learning my shit. You've got my shit. Like, you're doing it incredible.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, man, Anthony was special. And I really attribute a lot of our sound to like all of our amalgamated reggae knowledge that everybody had. Like Ollie had metal chops, but he also loved Midnight, and like we all loved Midnight, and that pocket and how we could attain that was like always our first idea. You know, I think we had a pretty innovative sound, but being young, I think, you know, it was also tough. Managers would take advantage of us a lot. We like almost got on a Tribal Seeds tour, but our manager ended up just stealing a bunch of money from us.
Oh, dude.
And like, we tried to get on
dude.
we played a couple Reb after shows and like tried to get opener spots for those tours, and we just couldn't finagle it. And like, it was rough.
That's so dumb, dude. It's like
People,
especially if you're an opening band, it's like, what are you guys make? It's like opening bands make like $100 or $200 a show. Like, it's not even worth stealing. Like, these so stupid.
well, I remember this dude. I shouldn't even fucking say his name on mic, but like,
he's still in the scene.
I forget if he's still in the scene or not. But if people saw this and heard his name, they'd be like, I remember that motherfucking guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still cool with people. But either way, I won't say his name. Out of respect. Told us that he'd help us with a bunch of like stuff, and like kind of proved that he was going to help us kind of get into those bands and talk to those people. And we gave him a bunch of money up front to like help.
Oh, I see.
Help like do promo and like a cut on stuff, and just gone. That
sucks.
Never talked to us again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. So after Sono Vero kind of fizzled out, like 2012 or 13.
Well, Sono kept going after I left.
But like half the band departed. I mean, like it was
when college came around, most of the band departed because I think there was a point where kind of our musical directions kind of stopped agreeing. And we were all like, no, I want this kind of band. No, I want this kind of band. How are we actually going to make it? You know, like we kind of just split. Tensions kind of just made us, we were young, you know, we're a young ass band without emotional awareness.
Yeah, dude, high school kids, man.
Fucking dude. Like, yeah. I mean, I still love that group. But after that, I remember I was the first person to leave Sono because the horn section was being called for by, I remember Tribal. It was like Through the Roots and Tribal and Fortunate.
Wow.
Were like asking us to do sets with them. And I remember I had like gotten requests from other bands to play with them, and Ian and, you know, all these other people.
Yeah.
Haleamano and a bunch of other groups that were my friends that like had me play on their stuff. I left Sono because we weren't getting paid. We were tired of not getting paid, and we were working our asses off. And it got to a point where like we were getting professional gigs and other bands were paying the horn section. And I was like, hey guys, I straight up just don't have time. Like, if I'm not going to get paid, we're going into the real world now. We're in college. I need to make my bills. Like, I can't take free shows anymore like that. Wow. And it was sad, but I was like, hey, if other bands are going to pay us and appreciate us as a horn section writing, and I don't really have a lot of control over like the hits and the arrangements anymore, I'm going to bounce and I'm going to go. And we left and never looked back. And
yeah, that makes sense. If like, you don't have the creative control anymore and you're not getting paid, it's like, well, what are we really doing here?
Yeah, we'd grown up. We were like, it's time to take this serious. Like, it's not just all the money's not going to go to the band fund anymore. Like, the band fund to just pay for Del Taco after we do it. And,
I've been in some bands with band funds.
Yeah, where you just buy stickers and you're like, this fucking sticker sucks ass. Dude. So, but left that. I would get in horn sections and I'd call my dudes. I'd play with.
Who was in the horn section at that time?
Original horn section was.
I know it's you and Nick.
Me, Nick, and Josh Mole.
Nice.
And then Max and Josh were playing a lot with Mystic Roots and a lot of, you know,
because they went to college together.
Yeah, Bodie Rock and stuff. We're all together and stuff. And I would call Josh and Nick or Max for any kind of recording session I was offered, and we were recording on a bunch of stuff, and we would record in studio because people wanted horns on their tracks.
Yep.
But there was a big contingency for a while where it was like, well, we're not going to have horns on the gig, so why record horns on albums? I think people still kind of feel like that today.
Or they just put us in the track.
Yeah, they just play the track.
Like with the horn section, like what was the dynamic of the horn section? Like who was doing most of the arranging? Was it like, or was it like everyone pretty equal? Like,
it was interesting. We all kind of, when Nick was a part of the trio, because Nick played with Tribal Seeds at the start when we sat in with them. Mm-hmm. Nick was playing first, I think. And then Max came in when Nick left, because Nick left LA like 2000. Gosh, man. 2014? I think someone could correct me if they know who Nick is in there, but he was either 13 or 14, and he got really tired of the LA music scene, and he went to Ireland to find himself, and he stopped playing. And then he found his wife out there, and then he got married, moved to Santa Cruz, and now he's a teacher out there, and that's all he does.
Wow.
Teaches and plays with some bands, and he's still one of the most incredible drummer players I know.
Yeah, man.
But Max filled his spot. I was playing with Max and Josh in other bands, and when we would go into sections, and I'm sure if you asked me, Josh, or Max about this answer, I'm sure you'll probably get two different answers, and not in a bad way, just because of like or you get three different answers, all three from different perspectives of how we were doing it. But I think we could all probably agree on a couple things, which would probably be that we would come together on a lot of lines, but I would do a lot of the line writing.
Yeah.
I would do a lot of like the melody writing, but I would always like offer it up. You know, we would all kind of give interpretations, but I was always the one kind of being like, hey, we need to be on this harmony. We need to be on this harmony. Let's do a hit here. Let's do this line here.
Yeah.
And either Max or Josh would be like, I don't like that one. Let's switch. And it's like, okay, cool, sweet. So it was very democratic in how we played lines, and very like, very fluid like that, you know?
Yeah.
I definitely remember there was times where Max would be like, what if we did this? And I was like, dude, that's a way better idea. I was always like, go, let's do that. Or if I was like, I think this might fit a little better, and we'd kind of try it a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's how horn players work. You know, we definitely throw around lines a lot and like see what works and see what feels good, because you might tunnel vision and totally lose the sight of what we're going for, you know?
Yeah. I guess I asked that because what's interesting to me is like, to me, the mark of like a great musician is someone who like sounds like themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily like how technical they are or whatever. It's like this person, or even like a singer, like there's a lot of singers out there who maybe aren't the greatest singer, but their voice is so distinct that it draws people. And I feel like you're someone who found your voice at a really young age. Like even in high school, like I hear you play and I hear your lines, and it's like, it already sounds like you.
Yeah.
You know, and like,
you,
and
man.
throughout your whole career, like even when I said earlier, like I was just in the car driving around and that song came on, I was like, this is Eric.
Yeah.
You know?
You can tell.
Yeah, dude. Like,
yeah, some people have told me that, and I really appreciate that. Like, honestly, thank you for saying that. I do, in the most humble way I can, I really do like that about my own playing.
Yeah.
I know I'm never going to be the next Michael Brecker, sax player wise.
Dude, you got crazy chops too, man.
But like, I ain't got that shit, man. I'm not any of the 80 million tenor players or alto players that I look up to here in LA, and I'll never be as good as some of those people. Even if they think that I'm pretty good, if you put our playing side by side, I'm gonna be like, I'll take this guy's playing any fucking day, dude. But like, that's the whole thing, right? Is like, for me, it's about how I can express my voice, not what can I do on the horn.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that shifted for me a long time ago. And if I'm on a jazz gig, I've kind of transitioned to that mentality too. Yeah, right. Like, it's much more focused on like, okay, what can I do to service the song as an energy, as opposed to, well, what can I do over these chord changes, and how can I show them I'm a badass on the horn?
Yeah. Sometimes with jazz, it's hard to like get out of that mindset because it's so like technical, and you get so into like, oh, like the 2-5 progressions and stuff.
Yeah, if you start thinking about changes, you start to lose the humanality. But it's like, at what point do you just exist to like, okay, I got a grip on these changes, kinda, but I can still speak my story, you know? And I think I try and do that with a lot of lines too, on how I write and how I write for other people, because I have been doing a lot of like producing and writing for other bands and stuff. And I think that, I think that that's a really kind comment, and I work on that a lot.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, man. That's just something that I've always found really like unique about you and inspiring, like from the time that I've met you, even super early on. But so now you've graduated high school. If you're in college now, you have a new horn section, and like you went to Cal State Long Beach. You were a jazz major. Yeah. You know, like what was that experience like for you? And
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot I'm not gonna get into because I have very big feelings about music college and how we were treated. I can speak candidly about it for sure. I think my experience in college music is that I gained some of the greatest friends and musicians I'm ever gonna have in my life there. And I would never trade that in 1,000 years. Harry Ostrander is one of my best friends.
Yeah,
He's an incredible
I just saw you
player.
were hanging with him like 2 days ago.
We teach together at SJV. And
oh, really?
Tyler McGuff is the director.
Oh, what?
There. So it's like, and Michael Beltran's there, and like,
Wow, man.
and Pat Malone's there. So it's like, it's all just a
Oh,
little
Long
Long
Beach
Beach
reunion,
hang
man.
in the music department.
Wow.
And yeah, me and Harry still track together. Harry's on half the reggae recordings I do these days, and like Tyler was on them too.
Yeah.
And these are all guys I played with in college consistently. And like on my album, it's all dudes I played with in college, and I think it's because we were kind of united under a pretty aggressive force of leadership in the director position and in the positions of power at Long Beach, that we kind of were united under a common, I hate to say foe, but like a common oppression. Oppression's also the wrong word because college is a privilege. This is something I talk a lot about. Honestly, it's the stuff I talk about in my jazz album. The concepts behind those songs are a lot of that experience, and like other than the base core premises of scholarly discussion that happen on that. But I think that college music programs are important. I think they're really, really good, just as the same as high school and middle school music programs are incredibly, incredibly the lifeblood of the musicians that we have today. I think that even if you don't go to music college, you can still be a good musician.
Oh, yeah, of course.
1,000%. I think if you don't do a music major and you still play and practice, you're still going to be great. I do think that there are opportunities I had as a music major to kind of be in a collective in the right place at the right time for certain gigs. And it was a crazy environment to be practicing 4 times a day, every day, nonstop. You were playing for your friends' recitals. You were playing for your recital. You were practicing for your teacher. You had a playing assignment in one class, and you'd have to play that, and you'd have to learn this other fucking thing for another thing.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work.
And you became like the first alto in the top band at one
Took
point.
a while.
Yeah.
Took 4 years. It was in my last year that it happened. And it was kind of out of like my first year, I made second alto in the second band. And rightfully so. I couldn't play flute very well. I was still getting better. Second year, I was supposed to play Barry in the top band.
Really?
Yeah, this is a fucked up story. I don't know why the fuck I even said yes to this. I think it's because when you're under pressure of the director of the program and they're like, hey, I need you to do this. You're like, oh shit, I fucking have to do this. And I can't say, no, I don't think I'm capable of that. They're going to be like, what are you, bitch made? Or something, or something terrible and mean like that, or aggressive. But I was supposed to play Barry, and he gave me the task of being like, hey, learn Barry and bass clarinet over the summer, and you're in the top band. And I was like, of course I want that. Of course I'd never touched a Barry in my life, and of course I've never played bass clarinet or clarinet very well for that matter. So I spent the summer just fucking dry humping a Barry and like trying my fucking best on bass clarinet. Show up to the audition, eat dog shit at the audition, and get taken into the closet in front of everybody else at the audition in the band room. The director took me in the closet and said, I ruined the entire jazz program at Long Beach State.
In front of everybody?
In the closet, and you could hear outside what he was saying from the closet because he was screaming at me. Yeah, so that was great. I got put back at second alto in the second band out of spite, even though the lead alto needed a lot of work. And I needed a lot of work, and a lot of us needed a lot of work for sure. But in that band, all my best buddies were in that band at a point. You know, like I had a lot of friends there, and the lead alto and me, we had a spat from the start of the year because I got put in that position, and everyone was like, Eric should have been lead, and I was like, well, I fucked up, and we weren't agreeing on how we wanted to be in the section together, and we worked it out, and now we're really, really good friends in post. After growing and learning each other for sure. Yeah. You know? But then after that, it was like, he wanted me to play tenor in the top band, and then couldn't play clarinet well enough again, which was dope. Clarinet. But then I got put at second alto in the top band because someone else came back, and then I got first alto. And I think that the first tenor thing kind of fucked him up. He wanted me to like play tenor in the band because he liked my tenor playing better. Which, I mean, I do play a fair amount more tenor than I do alto. Yeah. But yeah, like It was weird, man. It's weird. The politics of everything and the stress of the program. I have friends who are in the same program that will never look at music the same because of the program. And I think that's how an experience can happen with anyone that kind of goes into an environment that's hostile. And
when you say like that they'll never look at music the same, like what do you mean specifically by that?
specifically mean like some people will never enjoy music
see.
like that again, like in the free loving expression way that they did.
Is it because maybe like the program was like made them too critical or like
no?
or
I think
how is that?
I think the program is not the issue as much as like the way the program was like conceptualized. I think that God, I know what I want to say, and I'm gonna choose to not say it.
Okay.
The program at Long Beach is great. I can say that it's a great program, but it does come with the challenges of operating in a system where you might not be given love, compassion, and expressive freedom. I always found myself, and I do this a lot in life, where you gotta do you regardless of rules, and you gotta do you in a way where you can do you navigating the rules. Like a great example, we had an assignment where we had to do a big band arrangement of a tune, and the idea was like you do a full big band arrangement, and here's the layout for what you got to do, X, X, and X. You got to have an intro. You got to have like a verse section, you know, like an A, B, A, or whatever your format is. And then once you do that, have a solo section with backgrounds. Then you go to a transitional. Then you go to a shout section, a shout or a soli. It was shout or soli, and then you go back to the head, and then you go to the end. And you had to have like a coda and stuff. That matters to you. It doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people are going to know what that is. But on the day of the assignment, I turn it in and I lead it, and I did one of my original tunes that was on Living in the Question. I did a big band arrangement of it, and it's like really cool. I love it, and it was really fun to do. But like you had to conduct it yourself, and the big band worked with you with it. And I remember doing it, and we got done, and he was like, "So where's the tune?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, it's my tune. I did my tune." He goes, "Well, where's your soli?" I was like, "You said shout or soli on the assignment." And he was like, and I like pulled up the rules, and I showed it to him, and he was like, "Huh, okay." And it was like, he was like, where's your tune? I was like, "Well, you didn't specify it has to be like a tune." I was like, "This is my tune, and I did my arrangement." He really didn't know how to feel about it or grade it.
Like he wanted like a standard or something.
Yeah, he wanted a standard, but it wasn't voiced like that. Like he didn't say it like that.
I see.
And it followed everything to a T. It was like AABA. Here's the solos. Here's the backgrounds. Here's the transitional. Here's the shout. Here's back to the head. We're back to the coda. Here's the out. You know, it was to the T. And that's kind of how I felt I was still able to like be myself and be fully self-expressed. Was like taking the directions and being like, okay, here's the directions. I can still do me and follow these directions, but I have to do me in a way that I can still lay it out on the table.
Yeah.
You know? And I think with Long Beach's program, it is geared towards making you a working musician before being a creative musician. And in doing that, there's a lot of good discipline and practice, but you will have to navigate working with that for yourself and find ways for you to shine in against the grain of it. That's what I got on that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think everybody should, if you're a musician and you want to do college music, you should do it. But take it with the caveat that doing a business major might do you better. But
why is that?
I mean, dude. I mean, I don't know. It's unless you're really committing to like working a gig and being like, okay, I'm about to go play a LA Horses party in Beverly Hills till 1 a.m. and I got to drive the fuck out there and I'm only getting paid $250 and it's a 5-hour gig and I got to load in and I got to drive the fucking car a mile after I load and then I got to take a transit bus back from the car to get to the fucking horse party and then I got to play fucking Songbird by Kenny G to a horse. Like, you know,
that sounds awesome, dude.
No, for 250,
never.
bro, for 5 hours for 250 and a load like that, and then you can't load out when there's a raffle because the raffle's going on. You can't load your gear off stage.
Yeah, they have to use
because
the
they gotta do the. So I don't know. It's
a special kind of person.
It's not for the weak. And if you really are like, Mom, my creativity is not expressed on this horse gig. It's like, dude, if you gotta fucking work, you gotta work. Like in music, and it sucks ass, but it's like, it's true. You got to take a shitty gig here and there. If you need to pay the bills, you got to take the shitty gig. And if you're willing to be in that environment and you want to be around musicians that are also doing those shitty gigs, not to say that's the only way to do it, because there's great gigs and you're not batting 1,000. Like, you're going to get a great gig. At some point, they're not all going to suck. They might have some shit, but like, they're not all going to suck. Some of them are going to be really, really good. If you go to music school, you will be around other musicians that you will have connections with that will call you for gigs.
Definitely.
If you work hard and you play well. So if you want to be entrenched in the music scene, do that. But if you want to also be a manager, go to business school. Don't fucking go to music school. Like, go to do something else. If you want to be involved in music, but you don't want to exactly play music, but you want to work a business or you want to own a company that puts music on for stuff, like, don't be afraid to get a major in college. Or if you don't go to college at all, get a vocational job that's like still really good for you. I have friends that are engineers by day and they play gigs at night, you know, car mechanics, not engineers. You got to go to college for an engineer degree. But yeah, college is a weird one, man.
Yeah, man.
It's a weird one.
Did you like, I kind of had this experience in college a little bit where like, I almost felt like, almost like a black sheep in a sense, because I was like kind of more known as like a reggae guy in like this jazz band. Did you ever experience that feeling?
You know, I definitely got rousted for it, for sure. But I was pretty diligent about walking both lines. Mm-hmm. Like, I was pretty dedicated to being a jazz musician, pretty hardcore. And for me, when I learned a genre, I like added it under the umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Like, I could still sit lead alto at a gig and play lead alto and do a flute, do a flute sub thing if I need to do it. And like, I think there's a beauty in that. And I definitely got black sheeped because like the gigs I was doing and the type of stuff I was doing, like all my friends respected it, you know, because I got them gigs too. Like, yeah, man, we were all working together. Yeah. So we were all riding the horse, and I was
saw Anibal with tribal seats one night.
Yeah. I call those motherfuckers for things all the fucking time, you know, like. And I'll Ian
Holmquist with tribal seats.
I'll fucking do it again, dude. I'll do it whenever. But like, you know, like on with that, it's like in the program, like I had my gigs kind of like figured out, and I was considering not even going to college because Sono Vero was like a thing. And boy, am I glad I went to college instead of running with the boys.
Wow.
That would have not ended well. We would have broken up, then I wouldn't have been in college. And I would have been like, well, I'm ass out now. So I'm really grateful for that. I'm really grateful that like I stuck with and I pushed and got the paper. You got to get that goddamn paper, dude.
Yeah, especially since you're teaching now. And
well, funny enough, my music degree doesn't even help me.
Really?
With teaching. It's because Tyler needed a keyboard. I'm not even teaching saxophone at that school. I'm teaching keys and synthesizer methods. I'm teaching music theory fundamentals. And I'm teaching a jazz combo.
Wow.
And damned if I barely bring my horn to school, dude.
Yeah.
I do a couple sectional things with the sax section there in the jazz band. And then I teach a couple kids private lessons there.
Yeah.
Because they've asked me to. But half the time I'm showing kids pop keys, like how to play voicings on keyboards and like how to like make a song feel good and how to play and back singers and shit. You know, and like I'm taking a CTE credential class online offered with the school to get a credential. But it's a CTE credential. It's not a single subject credential. So it doesn't pay as good, but it still lets me do that if I need it.
Wow.
You know, and I'm down with that. I'm about that. I'd still love to tour and play my music and produce for people. That's my ultimate goal with everything. With this project that I'm starting, it's like I really want to be able to make my name like a production name that people can be like, oh, that guy makes that kind of music. Call him and it's on. You know, that's really what I want to be doing. And when Reb doesn't have this many shows this year, it was a chance for me to kind of like They needed a keyboard teacher. I'm here. Today, one of my kids was like, "Are you going to be here next year?" And I was like, that sucks that these kids have to answer that question. Like, yeah, of course I'm going to be here next year. Might not be there the year after, but only because I have to be there for 2 years to get my credential.
Oh, yeah.
I will commit to that, and I love these kids, and I'm going to have most of my keyboards kids next year, and they're great, and some of them are really shredding, and I really want to like build them up and get them going.
Yeah, like so with obviously you were just talking about your experiences
Yeah.
in education. Like as an educator now, like what are the philosophies that you try to have in your program?
Yeah. I think if there's one philosophy that I'm always sticking with, it's so funny to just say. It's really just like, get in there. Like, and in no other way do I say that. It's like half these kids that I work with and this is very specific for the school that I work at. It's probably like this in a lot of their school programs, but if there's one thing I notice with the school I specifically work at, is that there's a lack of zeal, there's a lack of confidence, and there's a lack of like, I'm here and I'm playing and I'm there. And like I got kids that like can play, and there's a pop program at the school, so they're playing like pop sets, and there's singers who are ripping and killing runs and like shredding and like, but some of these kids are back there and they're not playing with like this conviction to just like play and like have soul and have spirit. And like half the time I'm like, if you're gonna play it, play like you mean it. Like get in there, like interact, play, like get in there, do the damn thing, you know? And I think that's probably my biggest teaching philosophy. In theory, it's in my theory class. Those kids suck, dude. I hate to say it, but like it's young kids that don't want to show up to a theory class, which is like a math class for them. And I try and make it as fun and accessible for them as I can. And it's fucking like pulling teeth, man. And I get it. For all you people out there, music theory is difficult to learn. It's very heady, and it's not for everyone. I think it helps a lot of people, but I have a lot of friends that don't know theory and are great musicians, but they're always asking me, teach me theory. So it's like, you know, for me, teaching a theory class, it's like, oh, this is something I love and I want to do, and I do it. And it's like, I'm like, guys, what's the 3 of G? And they sit there and they're just like, I'm like, I'm not going to answer this question until you motherfuckers say something. Like, say some shit, dude. Come on. Like, I don't say that to their faces. I've definitely said that once or twice. I don't say it consistently. I'm not cursing at your kids, I promise.
Yeah, also, man. We'll play it like you mean it. I think that'll get you pretty far.
Dude, I mean, these big band kids playing it feels like a limp noodle.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's kind of like what we were saying earlier. Like, it's not even necessarily like how good you are sometimes or how proficient you are at your horn or singing. It's like the attitude that you're bringing into it or sounding like yourself, you know, and digging in. Like, that's what's going to make, I don't know, kind of.
Yeah, if you're reading, it's not just playing notes on a page. Like, that's just directions. Again, it's like finding yourself within directions, right? It's like if you read something on a piece of paper and there's no, and I guess this is a sound platform we're giving this podcast on.
Yeah.
But like, if you read notes on a piece of paper with no expression marks, with no anything, you have to imply what that's like.
Yeah.
And half these kids are going to read that and just be like, beep, bop, bop, bop. But if it's like, nga, and it's written like that, and it's not written directly like that, you learn those things over time to get into that headspace and really feel that strength and like push. You know, these bass players sitting in this big band, it's like there's no digging happening. Like, that's what I'm looking for. It's like I got these keys players that are like just kind of, I had a kid play Blue Jean Baby, like that Elton John song with Tiny Dancer.
Yeah.
He was playing Tiny Dancer, and like he was just like bee 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 boo bee 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 bee. I was like, dude, da 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 da. Right?
Yeah.
There's more vivacity or fucking whatever bussin' ass word you want to use, right? Like, it's like you can put what it needs in there. There's feel, like Piano Man. If you listen to the song Piano Man, you know, there's like
it's telling a story, man.
Right? You just go dee 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 dee.
Yeah, man.
That don't hit.
Yeah, think about those 50-year-old drunk dudes in Boston trying to fight people.
Dude, I hate to say this, and I hate if I offend some parents out there, but this is not directed at their kids for reasons because but specific for me, these kids play like they haven't paid rent before. And like, that's just it. Now there's a more explicit version of that, but like, they haven't played like it means something. You're playing If I Ain't Got You, Babe by Alicia Keys, and you've never had someone. You've never had a partner. You've never had a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a relationship partner. And if you're singing a song and you've never felt love before, you're not going to play it like you love someone. You're just going to play it like you kind of play it, Like you ain't never paid rent with your music. And it's like, I remember being in high school being like, oh, if I don't play good, Mr. Rush is going to kill me. And I really thought that. Yeah. And like, no shade to Mr. Rush, but like, it was a slightly hostile environment where I wanted to be good and I wanted to play good, and like we'd play those goddamn Gordon Goodwin arrangements. Yeah,
ripping and running, bro. And that's still on YouTube, man. That sax solo you did.
If we didn't like if you didn't nail those parts, it sounded like shit, and then you'd have a terrible morning because Mr. Rush would be like, "Well, whole day is ruined."
Wow. So does that movie Whiplash, like, do you think there's something to that philosophy then? Like, I mean, not to that extreme.
We could talk about this piece of shit movie.
Yeah.
I fucking hate Whiplash. I want everyone out there to know I fucking hate that movie. I hate that movie with every piece of my body. God, I fucking hate Whiplash. I hate Whiplash for a lot of dumb reasons too. I hate Whiplash because it's not accurate. We have friends that are in that movie.
Yeah, I know.
We have
Is that
friends
like
that were in that goddamn movie that had to miss rehearsal, and our director in college got so mad because they were in a Hollywood movie. And it was, why I don't like Whiplash is because it's not actually like that. There is semblance of directors who are like that, for sure. Not to that extent.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Not to that actual extent. It's definitely a dramatization of how extreme it is.
They're not going to slap you in the face.
Yeah, I never got hit. I got screamed at. I got called. I got told I looked like a terrorist with my beard once, which I'll hold to this day. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. It's definitely not me bleeding on my drum set. That's so dumb.
Yeah.
That scene is so dumb. He's fucking playing wrong by the way. He's on the wrong cymbal, and it's not the right fucking cymbal that's being played, and he's fucking bleeding on his drums. I don't do that shit. I've played until I bleed on my lip before, but like. It wasn't because I practiced so hard because I was going to get fucked on my gig. Like, I don't know. For me, Whiplash was a very specific movie where it's like, okay, this is some bullshit. Like, I get it. I get what you're trying to tell, and you're doing a pretty good job, and J.K. Simmons is a great actor. Whiplash is a well-made movie that is incorrect in its execution, and I think there is a successful element to being an intense band director, but if you spend one day in front of some fucking kids in a big band, dude, I don't know if you've done it before. I don't think any of these motherfuckers have done that. But if you spend one day in front of a big band, those kids eat you fucking alive if you don't lead them, and not in a bad way. Like when I step into that band, I'm screaming at them their rhythms. I'm like, you gotta fucking play, man. You gotta fucking play, and I'm clapping the rhythms. I'm like, saxes, run back to this part. We're doing this. If this doesn't hit me, I'm going to fucking yell. And like, they're aware that I'm going to get mad, but I'm not disrespecting them. I'm like supporting them when I have been in big bands with directors who are straight up backstabbing, really mean people.
Yeah.
And there's a difference. And Whiplash is a movie where they show that backstabbing director, which 1 out of 10 directors are like that. If even like maybe 1 in 200, like definitely not 1 in 10, 1 in 200.
Wow. It's
rare that you get a director that is that fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, and I think there is a benefit, but your cost is ruining some people's music experiences for the rest of their lives.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think that's a really heavy toll to pay.
Yeah.
In choosing to do that.
Yeah, man. Well, I just realized that we haven't talked about reggae like at all this entire podcast.
Well, no, I guess this is really it, because I feel like when you're talking to me, and it's funny, me and Rachmany talk about this all the time in Rebelution.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a weird phenom in the scene, and I think you're kind of a weird phenom too, and Liam is too.
Yeah.
Where like we love reggae, but we're really tapped into like the working LA music scene.
Yeah.
And like same with Alex Chillog, and like same with Max O'Leary too. When Max was playing, like Max isn't a dreadhead. Like Max played funk and like Afrobeat.
Yeah,
and, like,
dude.
And he fucking kills at salsa music. Like that's his bag, and he was fucking incredible. He still is incredible at that shit. And like me, I'm for sure, if you come up to me at a Rebelution gig and you're like, oh my God, you're a great reggae player. And it's like, I play jazz, dude. I'm a jazz musician first and foremost. Every time if someone fucking asks me, I'm not a keyboard player. I'm a better saxophone player than I am a piano player. And if you tell me you're a great piano player, I'll be like, awesome. I'm really a sax player, and I really appreciate that compliment. But like, sax is like my gig. I'm not just gonna say that. I'm gonna accept the compliment. But like, still, when you talk to someone like you or me, we have a lot more experience outside of just playing reggae, and it's rare in reggae to find that. I don't know a lot of other people that do that.
Yeah, that's actually interesting.
So you should take some, not some pride, but like give yourself some credit that like people like you and me and other people who have been musically educated people have a concept outside of the paradigm, right? It's like the concept of being a world citizen as opposed to being just the citizen of the country you're from, right? There's more out there in the world to experience. There's a wider array of things that you can understand, you know? And I think that's a beauty. And I think that's a privilege too, that we're able to like, we can communicate a song through theory and through numbers. And I think it's really cool that we're able to do that.
Yeah, man, I agree. And before we wrap up, like, just to touch on some reggae stories.
At
like,
least
do you
one.
have? Yeah, it's like, do you have some good stories? Like, dude, you've been like, I didn't even get to say this yet, but you've been touring like for, man, like almost over 10 years. You've been like constantly.
15 years.
Yeah, man. Like you've been on the road, like having so many experience, working with like dozens of like the top bands in the reggae scene. You know, like.
You notice I didn't talk about like any of.
Yeah, man. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's kind of. I'll talk about that now shortly. I'll promise it'll be short. But that's also the thing, right? Like for me, music as a whole at an even. Like I've played with Alicia Keys.
Yeah.
And I've played with Joe Schplo at the dive bar.
Did you play with Taylor Swift at one point?
Yeah, I did. And like,
dude.
And like even that, dude, like I was on stage with 20 other horn players and we played along to a track that had horn tracks.
Yeah.
And then we got the fuck off stage. You know?
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like I could play with Rebelution at Outside Lands to 20,000 people. And then I could play at Bogart's Coffee House in Seal Beach, California for 5 people.
Yeah.
And playing jam neo soul music and fucking feeling just good, if not better.
Yeah.
And like, that's not like not taking the privilege of playing those big shows. But for me, making music really is just that even level point joy of like, I'm creating music that means something to me. And I'm going to do that regardless of the art form it comes out in.
Yeah.
And I think if more people took that approach and like expanded, we'd have a really innovative and cool world of music, not just reggae.
Yeah, man. I mean, dude, again, going back to your project, man.
Yeah. We'll route back to bands.
Yeah.
You want cool stories about bands?
Anything, any like interesting moment in the reggae world that you had, or with bands? Yeah, whatever. Like,
I think
standout moments.
God, there's so many funny ones that are just like, I don't want to go into.
Yeah. Don't put anyone on blast.
No. I don't just want to be like, oh, this old Jamaican's a crackhead. But I'm sure people know that. I think the most poignant story that I ever had, and I think I've probably told you this one too. We played Legends of Reggae Festival San Diego. It was me, Max, and Josh.
This is with Tribal Seeds?
Tribal Seeds.
Uh-huh.
And at that fest, it was like my first real time meeting like a lot of like all of the OG reggae greats, and it was my first time meeting Don Carlos.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the picture that you posted. Like,
Old
I remember
one.
that. Yeah,
it's
dude.
way, if you scroll all the fuck
I
down
remember
my
when
Instagram.
you posted that, dude. I freaking geeked
It's
out about that.
Albrosi's at that one,
Yeah.
and Don Carlos is that one, and like I'm posing with Albrosi, and we look literally the same person. People think we're brothers. They're like, cool cousin. I'm like, no, I'm not his cousin, but thank you. I remember Don Carlos. I posed with Don Carlos and took a picture, and I was like, I was like, Don, like, you know, your music's legendary. Like, thank you so much for everything you've done. Like, you really are like an uncle to us. And he was really, really close friends with Tribal Seeds too.
Wow.
So he was like, oh, you know, thank you so much. And then I remember the quote he told us. He was like, what you play? And I was like, oh, we're the horn section. You know, we're doing a lot of covers this time. So we're doing a lot of these like old heavy tunes. We told him the tunes, you know, Door Peep and all these other tunes that we were playing and stuff. And he was like, that's incredible that people are playing like the deep cut legendary tunes that people want to hear, you know? And he goes, Arn players. He goes, last ones to be called, first ones to be fired.
He said that.
It was like last one's there, first one's gone, or something like that. Yeah, it was that. It was like last one's there, first one's gone.
Damn.
And it was like, yeah, man. And he goes, and we were all like, oh shit, okay. True, very true. I mean, he always had horn players in his band.
Yeah.
He had 2 at least.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he knows if anyone fucking knows, you know?
Yeah.
That's, I think, the funniest story.
That
one's pretty fucking good. Yeah. Well, that's my story. That's my reggae stories.
Dude, for all the Reb fans who are probably watching this, like, do you have any like Reb stories, or like what was that experience like first joining a band like that, you know?
I mean, for me, I guess like the biggest thing was like I played in reggae for such a long time. You know, people talk about Reb and talk about Kyle Ahern's story a lot, where it was like he got in on like a jam with the band contest, and then Rock kept his number, and then when they needed him, they called him.
It was like an Instagram contest or something, right?
Which is like a beautiful story.
Wow.
You know, they fucking called me. I was on tour with Ian Young, and I remember getting a text from who the fuck texted me? Someone random texted me, and it was like, "Hey, Reb needs a sax player, and you might be getting a call." I remember getting a message, like a call from Rachmany. He was like, "Hey, man, my name's Eric Rachmany," and
had you met any of them at this point?
Well, so in the message, he's like, "We've seen some of your stuff. You know, we really are looking for a new sax player and that can play keys, and you look like you'd be a really good fit. We want to know if you're still playing with any other bands." And I was on tour with Ian. He called me while I was on stage. I got off. I called Eric in my free time, and I was like, "Hey, man, like we've already met like a couple times." And he was like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah, you met me with Gil Bonus from the B Foundation at Cali Roots in 2012 or 13 or something." And he like, I was like, "You're really fucking cool, man." And he was like, "Wow, that's really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, you knew about Gil's kids because you knew the B Foundation from like 10 years ago."
Wow.
And you said, "How are the kids? How's your family? How are your kids doing?" And he was like, "That's wild. You remember I have kids." And he was like, "Nicest guy on the planet." I was like, "This guy's really fucking cool." And I was like, "That's like, I would be honored to play with you guys. I'm playing with Tribal Seeds and a couple other bands right now. But if you need me full time, like I'm willing to make you guys priority." Like, I'd still like freedom to play with other bands at festivals and stuff. He's like, "Yeah, sure. I mean, that totally works with us." Yeah, I had met the guys because I had played with Tribal opening up for them at Red Rocks a couple times.
Yeah.
And I had met them because Sono Vero had played some post parties and stuff before when they had played. So I think they knew who I was, but again, this is not a cocky thing to say, but there's not a lot of other people that play keys and sax at the same time on gigs. It's not common. Cody Deer does that for like pop artists and stuff, and he's like a phenom. And like, I don't know a lot of other cats that bring a keyboard and their instrument to the gig and double fare back and forth, you know. And like, I'm really happy for what I've brought into Reb, and like with the background harmonies being introduced, and like me and Zach singing background harmonies along with Kyle, and Kyle singing a song of his own now. And like, we've really pushed to try and like help the band grow. And I think a lot of us have visions for like what we can give. We are not founding members of the band, so we don't have a lot of say in the direction the band goes and what we do. But we are big musical writers, and I think Rachmany appreciates what we bring musically to the group, and it's why we do acoustic tours with him. Yeah, man. And solo tours with him and support him in his music as well. So, yeah.
Well, I'm stoked to see what you guys have coming up, and dude, it's been I'm glad to have you on the show, man. Thank you so much for coming down. Like, you've been an inspiration to me personally for many years. Like I said, you know, like you were my introduction to reggae.
Yeah.
You know, going to your show, Premium Culture, was the first reggae show I ever went to, and I like, because for me, and I'll wrap up with this.
Yeah.
But like I never saw like a peer of mine, especially someone in band, you know, because at school it's like jazz or classical.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't know you could play trumpet in a band like that, and going to your show and seeing like a bunch of kids my age playing a packed venue of kids also my age playing
we
it.
Fucking grinded
Yeah,
those ticket
dude.
sales, dude.
Bro,
Yeah.
but you guys would pack the place out,
Yeah.
man. And that was really inspiring to me. And I don't think I know for a fact I wouldn't probably be a professional musician today if I hadn't been to those shows and seen someone like you to like
Thank you, man.
look up to, man. So
Yeah, I fuck, dude. That means a lot. What's wild too is that, and I'll back you up on that. Someone brought me into it, and I think it's always going to take someone who really like believes in the process to bring someone else into something. I'm a fair believer that there's always an out hand that's there in whatever form it comes to lead you to the things that you really feel passionate about and love.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, man. Thanks for having me, dude.
yeah, dude.
All right, that concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember to tune in next time for more interviews with your favorite reggae artists and band members. My name is Glenn Holdaway, and thank you so much for listening.